Cousin Mike, what's happening? Still getting settled in. Excuse me. I'll set you down a minute. How was your holiday, Cousin Mike? I didn't do much of anything. Just kind of milled around the house. Got stuff done, though. Give me a second. Trying to get my camera and podium set up. Do. Pop in the can coolie. Set that down. Set that down. Justin, what's happening? Give me a second. Trying to get things done. So much for that idea. Well, hello, Omid. See what else I got to use as a podium. Oh, snap. We might have it. Oh, yeah. We're getting closer. We're getting closer to the goal. And we're doing it together, folks. Bear with me. Ah, you fell. And survey says, up you go, and why are you doing this, phone? Why are you doing this, phone? No, you guys are going to fall over. So much for my brilliant idea. Oh, I remember what I did last time. I remember. Had a falcon stealing fish off our hooks yesterday. Good Lord. Well, I mean, falcons got to eat too, but why did you got to pull it in? Right? Okay. I never had an animal, bird of prey, steal anything off my hooks. I have seen eagle swoop down and take a fish once. That was cool. Especially the size of the fish that Mr. Eagle. Oh, God. Oh, yeah, that's way better. There we go. Now we got something stable. I'll adjust it down. Oh, this almost looks professional, y'all. We did it. Yay. Them danged winged varmints? Were you gonna blast them to smithereens? Them varmints. Ma! What's happening? Boat almost took my pole in the water. Holy wah. I do remember as a kid, a friend of mine's dad had caught a fish, and there was a little fish inside a medium fish, and the big fish had ate there was a fish in a fish in a fish. That was pretty cool. I know why we're having this problem. What happened? Something happened. All right, if you can hear me, I am going to restart the stream. Something has happened. I'm black on this side, or it's all dark. So you're good. You can see me, but I can't see anything. That's so strange. All right. Hey, hey! There we go. See, a caveman can figure out the first time he's in a car. Yay! I did it! Yay! Holy wow. Yeah, I figured out why my phone was giving me fits. The phone holder tripod thingy was just resting just right on the power button, which was wanting to bring up the menu and all that other stuff. So we got it figured out. I dumped out the pine sol today, and I wanted to show how much garbage was left in the bottom of it, but I tried to carefully dump it out and leave all the schmuck in the bottom, but it just started to stir up. So finally I just poured it all out, but it does a really good job on the carbon. It'll eat at the carbon. And then I have this old toothbrush that I use to scrub everything. And after a good soak, you just scrub up that carbon with the brush, dip it again in the pine sol and water, comes right off. And the amazing thing is the pine sol came out all nasty dirty, and everything got a sink wash after I dismantled it. The carb was clean for the most part on the inside. It was just caked in dirt and stuff on the outside. And so I gave everything a sink wash before it all got brought out and put in the pine sol bath. So everything's clean. Cheers, everyone. It's a soda. Oh, yes. I need to turn that off. There. Now we won't receive that anymore. Well, excellent. Now that I got everything figured out, and what is happening with everyone? Did anyone do anything absolutely awesome this Labor Day weekend? I barely left the house. Just potted around here and did whatever, and started looking forward to my trip down to Missouri this month. And yeah, just grabbing stuff and finally putting stuff away and cleaning the carburetor. That was the big all-enthralling project this weekend. Ooh. Main Street Mopar, what's going on, my guy? Got the truck finished! Exclamation point! Just waiting for the new carb. Using an old Carter for now. Old Carter's good old carb. Oh, that's right. You're getting an ABS too. Heck yeah. That'll be a big step up from that Carter. I can't wait when I run my tunnel ram to run those ABS 2s that I've got. I'm so excited about those. Simply because I wanted a pair of brandy new carbs, but the speed shop that spring had quoted me at like $800 for a set of ABS 2 650s, and I got mine for $4.25. Yeah. Worked too hard Saturday. My back started complaining Sunday and hasn't quit. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Been going to see my chiropractor on the regular, and really happy on my overall back. Did I find you an ending timing cover? I knew of one. I don't know if he still has it or not. He doesn't usually sit on parts. But it was like $100 for an IndyCast cover. I'll look for one, Ken. Then again, if I find one, I might get it for myself because the Indy timing cover has a boss on the inside for a cam button. Not that the cam wants to walk out all that much because it wants to walk back in the block. Oh, it's Kim. Greetings and salutations, Mrs. Kim from Kim Fixes Things. Her and her counterpart, the Buff Del Campo, do a live every Tuesday and then various nights across the week. Always an entertaining time. Usually on the Buff Del Campo channel, sometimes on Kim Fixes Things. Oh yeah. Well, if you're gonna go Indy, you gotta go all Indy. Are you gonna get Indy Tappet covers and then get No Problem Bufferino, and then what else? You could get like an Indy air cleaner and then Indy breathers to go in your Indy valve covers. And then you can get an Indy coat and an Indy hat, and then Indy keychain, tumbler, chest set. It's like Snap-on, right? I make my friend J-Mo. He used to be a professional trucker. He hung up his keys and picked up his wrenches and went back to servicing trucks instead of driving them. And he's all about the Snap-on. He's got Snap-on this, Snap-on that, all sorts of those little goodies and accoutrements and poker tables and poker chips and ice cubes that are shaped like Snap-on sockets and just all sorts of those little things. Got the engine pulled out of my wrecked van. Shuffled stuff to the lean-to fit the engine. Drive shaft is in half pint, working on finalizing engine transplacement. New master cylinder installed. Holy wah! Well, moving hard or moving for sure. No wonder your back hurts. Do they have an Indy truck like they have tool trucks? I was just making jokes. Mean Street Mopar. I don't think they do. But yeah, that would be pretty cool. Have all Indy this and Indy that. Yes, great progress for sure. Well, yes, great progress for sure. So my friend JMO, he's always showing me the trains, the wooden train set, and the ping pong table, and the TV trays and stuff. And I said, "Do you have Snap-on undies yet?" He goes, "No." I go, "Does your wife have Snap-on lingerie?" And he goes, "No, but that would be great." He said. So there you go. There's going to be Snap-on lingerie coming. No. Well, one of my old coworkers would always say that Snap-on is just Gucci for men. Now that it's not 100 degrees, I can actually get work done. Yeah, I know. Nothing sucks worse when you're bent over working on a project and the sweat's just running off of your forehead, dripping into your glasses, and then, yeah, gets in your eyes. Oh, that's even better. Couldn't have done it without Damien. Awesome. Step on undies. He's got all sorts of stuff. Just all that, like Snap-on playing cards and I don't know if they do girly calendars anymore. If the Snap-on calendars anymore. What was really neat was going over the winter to Autorama at Cobo Hall or Huntington Place or whatever it's called now, but it's old Cobo Hall in Detroit. And you walk around, and a lot of guys are still wearing their winter coats as they're going through, and because it's midwinter when we have the auto show, and you'd be surprised how many guys are wearing the Snap-on coat. They paid a lot of money for that Snap-on coat. But the funny thing is that you don't hardly ever see any other tool brand of coat. Like you hardly ever see anyone wearing a Mac Tools coat or anyone wearing a Matco coat or all the other brands. Definitely wouldn't see somebody running around in a Cornwell coat. Just kidding. But yeah, I've noticed that Snap-on's the only one, or at least that's the one everyone buys. One of my coworkers, when he first started working with us at the job I'm at now, he had a Mac Tools coat, winter coat that he'd wear to work. And we have where I work, we actually have a driver's lounge, which also is where we take our breaks. And, vending machine, refrigerator, microwave, bathrooms. Well, he would just take his coat off and leave it on one of the chairs in our break room. And one of the drivers swiped his Mac Tools coat. Harbor Freight coat, exactly. So somebody should make. It's got to be. I could totally see it too. It'd be a utilitarian coat. It wouldn't be flashy or anything like that. And of course, it's got to be Hobo Freight red with just white letters on it that says Harbor Freight, or Hobo Freight as the one that I like the most, or the Haba. Got to go to the Haba. Everything but the timing cover. That's fun. Oh, from Indy. Gotcha. Heads, valve covers, valley plate. Just need that timing cover. Well, right, you've got to collect it all. I actually have held that Indy timing cover that the guy that I was buying parts from had. And yeah, it is pretty well made. It's rough cast, at least the one I held was rough cast aluminum, and roundaboutly where the cam button, where the cam center would be, it says Indy. It's about it. You'd think for all that money that you're spending out on it, it'd be like mirror polished. But then again, once you got a water pump on it, nobody's going to see it anyhow. So, well, the emergency responders are headed out. Fire barn isn't too far away from the Wolverine garage. That's a good thing. Yep, fire truck. We just heard what you heard before was our first responders headed into the fire station. And then now we just see the fire wagon headed out. So I'm it's kind of neat. Sometimes you see how the guys come rolling in, and our the speed limit on our street isn't that fast. And the guys are moving with intensity, but they're not like letting it all hang out. Um, where I went to the town where I went to high school, which is only 10 miles away, 13 miles away, there was a family that was all part of the local fire department, and they owned a service station on the outskirts of town. And then anytime there was a fire call, they'd throw their wrenches down and leave the store and leave the full service gas station behind. Well, the youngest son, the junior, he had a pretty hot Monte Carlo, and he'd get the fire call, and he'd be booking out the door, running his Monte Carlo, and light it up. It was an '87 Monte Carlo, and he wouldn't waste any time rushing into town to go to the fire barn. And he might have had the car sideways a few times and really throttling on it. He made good time getting to the fire barn. And finally, the powers that be started to realize what Junior was doing, and they all had a little talk with him. And yeah, you're supposed to get here quick, but let's be reasonable about it. Let's not get the car sideways. So Junior slowed it down a little bit. He's still on the fire department, I believe. Never bored? What is happening? I hope everyone has been having a killer extended weekend. I hope you guys did all sorts of fun stuff, or nothing at all if that's what you want. That's basically what I did. I just kind of puttered around the house and took care of projects and rebuilt a carburetor. Actually, I really even didn't rebuild anything. All I really did was just give it a bath. Give it a good scrub, clean it all out real well. Everything looked good. I even reused the gaskets. All of the gaskets come off perfectly without problem. So I just didn't feel, I got a brand new Edelbrock branded carb kit, or not carb kit, but gasket set. And I didn't feel the need to get into it. So yeah. We'll see how well it runs here real soon. The heads are decked out with titanium locks and retainers. Comp dual spring 250 seat pressure, 667 open pressure. Look out, Mainstream Mopar. And I believe the titanium valves too, but they are unported. Weird. Yes. God. At least try to smooth out the exhaust runner a little bit. Birthday party for the daughter. Wife is tomorrow. We went for a short drive in the white S10. Nice. So your daughter is today and your wife is tomorrow. So you guys had your daughter a day before your wife's birthday? That's pretty cool. My dad and I share the same birthday. I was his 28th birthday gift. I don't know if that's a gift we're talking about, or oh yeah, no, just kidding. The white S10 back as the street terror. Man, there's more emergency vehicles in the area. You can hear them in the distance. Let's go outside and listen to the commotion, shall we? VRS 950s. Ooh. Oh. Yeah. Now we're outside of the Wolverine garage. VRS 950. Okay. Broken valve cover gasket. A little smoky ride. Yeah. Yeah, nothing sucks worse than when you're cruising along, everything's good, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, is that a tappet cover leaking onto the header or exhaust manifold? Yeah. Or even better, all of a sudden everything's cool and quiet, all of a sudden, tick, 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 tick. What's that noise? Exhaust manifold. Gasket. Well, at least it's not like billowing smoke like a puked engine. You don't get to see those very often. You used to see them a lot more years ago, like the barfed engine going down the highway with the big white cloud behind it, and they're still driving it, or the blue cloud, or the whatever. But you're just like you see it from the distance, and you're like, what on earth is that? And then you finally see the car go by, and oh yeah, smoking like a roaring freight train. You're like, that's not long for this world. One of my favorites was the one I actually was following, and it was like a early 90s GM, like an old 88 front wheel drive car, and it was running like hammered crap, and their answer to everything was kick it down. So it'd be running there, sitting there just spewing smoke, and they kicked it down, and it'd spew even more smoke, and it'd level out, and it was coughing and sputtering, and I'm just like, that poor car. It just makes you wonder, how long did it run like that? There was a young lady, this is like 20 years ago now, there was a young lady in my old neighborhood. She had a little Japanese import car. It was a two-door, and it was broke, but it barely drove. And the thing sounded like hammered crap, and it had a 5-speed in it. and she would take off. She'd drive the same route, same time every day, and she'd come through the intersection by my old place, and the thing would barely stay running. She'd let it off, she'd throttle up and take her foot off the pedal or the clutch, and it would lurch, boop, 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 and then she'd shift the second, and it would do it again, boop, 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 boop. But when she hit third, it would level out. And she drove that car that way for months and months and months. It was just, there she goes. It was a young girl. And then one day, she comes through, and the car runs normal again. And she drove it that way for like a year and a half. And to the point where I never had spoke to her, but I actually went up and said, "You got your car fixed." And she goes, "I did get my car fixed." I go, "I know you did, because it no longer lurches every day." She goes, "You noticed that?" I'm like, "How could I not?" She goes, "It runs pretty good now. I finally got it, whatever, fixed." I'm impressed that it actually ran that long, because it sounded like garbage. It does when I get done flooring it and slow down. I bet it does. I'm gonna go get my hat. I'll be right back. You're on my picnic table. Almost 700 lift. My God, that's a lot of lift. I think the cam I wand is like a 552 lift, I believe. Ah, Danster, what's happening? We're getting a new thing, and it's just started happening. Pancho and Lily. No, you mean Pancho and Lefty. A new thing that I've noticed, and this is about the fourth one I've seen, and it's only been within a month. We got young bucks, because in my county, you can drive like dirt bikes and quads and golf carts and stuff legally on the side of the road. And these young kids have been taking quads, and they're building like a console or something, like where a passenger would sit, and it's a box, and they're putting stereos in them. So you just heard that quad go by. Well, he's got a little stereo and boom booms in it and everything. I'm seeing that a lot more. So is it a trend, or are all these guys all hanging out copying each other's ideas? We'll soon find out. I know that that guy on the quad was actually following the speed limit. Usually the dirt bike guys just let it all hang out. Well, the mosquitoes are coming out. Michigan's official state bird. So if they start to carry me away, we'll go back into the Wolverine garage. Mutual inspiration. Absolutely. Well, you got to admit, how many times have you walked into someone's shop and seen something and you're like, that's a great idea. I should incorporate that into my thing. And yeah, mutual inspiration. Exactly. It is sandstone. It's a block house, just regular old cement block, and that is a veneer. So really, the sandstone is only like that thick. These 730 to 740 with 1.6 room. It should be just enough lift, right? Yeah, just enough. Yeah, where you're pushing almost 3/4 of an inch. Here's the first of the day, saving it up for Monday night. Yeah, that's sandstone. You know, it's kind of funny is things that you secretly wish for, you never tell anyone. You just say, I'd like to have something like this. And I always thought that it'd be cool to live in a brick house. And yeah, I never told anyone that, but how funny all these years later, I'm living in a brick house. I also wanted to live in a ranch house, all on one level, no upstairs. Check and check. Hey, Cheryl, what's happening? Ooh, late model Honda, lowered right down in like a cranberry, dark red. And no, that was a little ricer, little 4-door ricer, all slammed down into the weeds. Looking good. Had a headlight out. It doesn't look it on camera, but it's getting to be dusk. Well, here, I'll show you what's left of the sunset. And we'll get to watch some of the cars go by. It thinks it's a Chevy. That's funny. Oh yeah, always gotta have a headlight out. Crap. One of my old coworkers, they have a truck, a 56 Chevy pickup that the family bought new. It's been in the family ever since new, and it's always had just a working driver's side headlight. And the old man, before he went on to the great garage in the sky, actually named it Old One Eye. And the guy who owns it, he's like, I don't care if that headlight ever works again on the passenger side. He's like, it's Old One Eye forever. I like that. Oh, seen a 32 Ford Street Rod earlier today in tomato red, and it's pretty nice. He cruises the tar out of it, and I love it. It's going to have 12-to-1 compression, race gas only. Good Lord. I prefer, well, you see, one of the reasons why the truck, it doesn't matter that the truck has a headlight out, is Old One Eye never actually sees the asphalt. It actually just stays on the property and does work around the farm. So that's another reason why they won't fix the headlight. Truly impressive mill, yes. I can only wish for a 750 lift 12-to-1 compression, Indy headed 440 Chrysler fire breathing beast. Seeing a 52 or 53 Chibi on my way home. The 8 transplant too. It sounded like what, Danster? The suspense is killing me. I kid. It sounded like a V8. Okay, gotcha. Yep, nothing sounds like a V8. Back in the day, you could go to the demo derby and you could hear the inline sixes because they would rev them higher. My old boy told, so he goes, hear the inline sixes? And I'm like, hear him? He goes, yeah, hear the engines that rev higher? Those are inline sixes. And I'm like, oh, I guess he's right. Ah, oh, does nothing special. What's happening? Oh, here real soon. My county, well, not the county I live in, but I live right on the county line, and the other county, which isn't that far away, next week begins their county fair, and good times to be had at that county fair. The county that I live in, their county fair is at a terrible time of the year, and their fairgrounds have no trees. The old county that I used to live in, their county fair, they've been having the same fairgrounds for over 150 years. And it's nice. It's right on the river, and it's riverfront property, and it's really nice. So way better, a lot more shaded trees and old buildings and stuff. Well, anyways, they have the off-road demo derby where you go fast and turn right to protect the driver. And I'll have to go, I want to go check that out. It's a radical build for sure. I figured why not go all out. I'll probably build a stroker short block for it later on. Right on. Yeah, the big one that 440 Source offers, the, what is it, like 545 cubic inches of Mopar Fury. Yeah. Yeah, that even with a stock bore, all that good stuff on top of even a stock bore 440, the thing's going to bore and stroke 440. The thing's going to jump. Building it for such high compression, you're when you go blower status, you'll have to build a whole nother engine because high compression and a blower don't go hand in hand. We had a guy in the neighborhood, he built a 65 Chevy pickup and made it into a, like, actually back halved it and had a 9-inch out back and caged it, and it was actually a pretty stout truck. And he built a small block Chevy high compression, like 11 or 12-to-1, and then he found a blower and an intake for it, and everyone's like, don't put that blower on that high compression engine. And he's like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. He drove the thing with the blower on it and the high compression engine for about 2 months, and the engine catastrophically gave up the ghost. I wonder why. I almost wonder if it didn't beat itself to death with detonation. But I never got to see the destroyed engine. I just knew that he sent her to her maker. Okay, I'm gonna turn you around, get another shot of the Sunset going behind the trees. Light is fleeting. It's Dougster After Dark. I've got access to 100 octane unleaded av gas at the local airport. They're one of the only airports outside of California with unleaded 100 octane av gas. Okay. Well, it's not like you're going to be, sounds like this thing isn't going to be something that you're going to be able to just jump in it and run to town and, you know, grab ice cream in. Sounds like this is something that you're going to trailer to the track and unload and rip it up. Because I don't think a 700 lift cam is going to be extremely streetable. Or 750 lift cam is going to be extremely streetable. Ari, what's happening? Welcome. Look, Ari, the sun's setting, and then, but it's still bright and sunny in California. Yeah, the light is fleeting very quickly. Get another look of the Antonio, hello. Turbo Del Campo. Speaking of turbochargers, I watched Garage 54, and those crazy Russians this time around, they took a 1JZ Toyota engine and they put it in the trunk of a Lada, and then they rigged it all up. I'm good, Antonio. They rigged it all up to just run with no transmission on it, but to run and turn a turbocharger, and then they were using the Toyota 1JZ to spool the turbocharger, and then they hooked it up to the tailpipe of the Lada engine in the Lada, and then they were spooling up the 1JZ and then doing acceleration tests with the Lada engine to see how an extreme amount of negative pressure, extreme amount of scavenging, essentially, what the Lada engine would do, and it actually went faster. BMW E30 Coupe. I am a big fan of BMW motorcycles, not so much their cars. There's good and bad in all of them, though. But I do like a BMW motorcycle. Most miles, most distance, or most longest ownership, most miles covered, BMW motorcycle. That's the Tupelo Regional Airport in Tupelo, Mississippi. Sucking the exhaust, vacuuming the exhaust, yes. Only KTM. Well, KTM doesn't make a road bike, but a KTM does make a great dirt bike. I got to ride my friend's KTM 300 two-stroke, and that thing hits like a hammer. I was very impressed with KTM Duke. I don't know of the Duke. One of my favorite dirt bikes from back in the day, the one that scared me, was a Husqvarna CR5 or 500 CR, which was over 500 cubic inch two-stroke, had a decompression on it, and the thing was just an absolute beast. There goes the fire truck. They got the job done. You're getting hard to see? Oh, that's right. Well, it looks the mosquitoes are commencing to me anyway. DT 475. Yes, yes. The Honda CR 500 is a monster. So is the Kawasaki KX 500 is also a monster. But the Husqvarna 500 CR is all three of those bikes will scare you, but I felt more comfortable riding the KX 500 and the CR 500, the Honda and the Kawasaki over the Husqvarna. The Husqvarna had a problem. The carburetor couldn't keep up with the engine. If you took off like a streak of crap and had a full carburetor, she was an elbow stretcher and gave you tunnel vision, but then it would run the carburetor down and then it would have to catch up to itself. And my friend kept doctoring it and making it better. He never actually cured the problem, but he made it better and better. And last I knew, he's like, it's even scarier now. Want to ride it? And I'm like, no thanks. Soon after that, it kicked back and it broke his ankle. On his graduation party, of all things, we had a dirt bike track out back. All right. Yes, I'm still here. Yes, you can still see me. Understanding you, but not good at English. Sorry. That's good, Antonio. That's all right. One of them diesel pickup trucks with a dual axle trailer and a piece of equipment like a mini tractor. All right, let's run back inside where there's less mosquitoes and more light. Shall we? Get you a good shot of the evening, the sunset. Too bad we didn't have any red in the clouds and whatnot. Oh, there I am. Welcome to Dougster After Dark. That's right. As long as the music doesn't begin with we're good. That's not the Dougster After Dark we want. Yep, I got busted. Oh yeah. Ooh, KTM 450 Supermoto. Yes, yes. The Austrians KTM is Austrian made. They make a great motorcycle. They really do. Tim Windsor, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. I've been finer than frog hair. Man, we got all sorts of great folks showing up tonight. Always appreciative of everyone who shows up and hangs out here with me on a Monday. Sorry I didn't get my posting done. I was too busy being lazy all weekend. Ooh, 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 ooh. Duke of Windsor, Duke, Duke, Duke of Windsor, Duke, Duke. Or is that just for Duke's mayonnaise? Which I tried Duke's mayonnaise, and I mean, it's mayo. I like mayo. But it wasn't, I didn't like transcend, it didn't take me to another dimension or anything like that. It's mayo. I've had people that be like, "Oh, Duke's mayo," and I'm like, "All right." I mean, it's got to be good if I got a bunch of people going, "Oh, it's so good," and I tried it, and it's mayo. Jason's Garage. Howdy. Duke's mayo's number 4 on his list. Nice. Keep spicy mustard and ketchup in the house, but no mayo. I now eat a lot less mayo because its main ingredient is soybean oil, and I was recommended by a friend to stop eating soybean oil, high concentrations of soybean oil, and that's basically what mayo is made of. So I eat mayo still, just a lot less than I used to, and lime mayonnaise. I know exactly what Ari's talking about. That is pretty good. Well, yeah, they just substitute because there's supposed to be lemon juice in it, and they just substitute it for lime. They put limes on everything, though. Mayo is for soy boys. I get, yeah. Oh, it's your trick for coleslaw. Oh. I'm a Hellman's guy, and I thought Miracle Whip over mayo. I can't get behind the Miracle Whip. I was raised in a Miracle Whip house, and then I figured out on my own the miracle that is, or the wonder that is mayo. Mexican, I'm drowning it in sour cream. Mayonnaise is a little different. A thing of its own. Yeah? Big Mike's 2025 built on the homofo. No, I haven't. I like what Big Mike's about though. He's a pretty cool guy. Yeah. I skip mayo and go for extra mustard. I go for extra mustard now too. Like I used to I used to make a sandwich. I take a sandwich to work every day, and I used to make mayo and mustard. And now I just laid on the mustard. And so yeah, a big old jar of mustard or mayo lasts us a good long time now. Yeah, mustard does kick ass. And there's so many different kinds of mustard, from regular old yellow mustard to stone ground mustard to spicy brown mustard to I only use mayo in certain silly situations. Kraft number 1, Hellman's number 2, Blue Plate number 3, Duke is number 4. Blue Plate. I'll look for blue. I don't think I've ever seen Blue Plate. It must be a South thing. A liquid lunch. Yeah. As much as I'd love to have the liquid lunch, the closest I couldn't do it driving the high-low. I've heard stories of bars across the road from General Motors plants, and at the lady would look at the clock, and it's around that time, and she'd open up 6 bottle buds and set them on the bar in front of this one seat, and then put in for an order of French fries, and in would walk Bob. He's on his lunch break from General Motors, and in 25 minutes or whatever, he'd suck down 6 beers and eat an order of fries and go back to work for the rest of his shift. Ford Ranger frame, Chrysler 440 engine, and a Honda body. Wow! All right. I think I drank beers at 2 o'clock p.m. one day last week. Wow. Blue Plate, made in Louisiana. It's a premium brand, but not excessively expensive. I always wanted to like try to make homemade mayo because all it is just oil, eggs, and lemon juice, I think. Just to see. Yeah, I know. I was impressed when we seen Duke's. My mom went Duke's. That's kind of funny that they used to be a Miracle Whip house, and now my mom loves Duke's. I'll see Duke's at my parents' house, so even they got shown the light. And herbs and spices and seasonings, a proprietary blend of 14 herbs and seasonings. There was an old, there was a lady back in the 80s, and she would take things that were popular in culture, and then she would sit there and work at it in her home kitchen and replicate her stuff. And yeah, Colonel Sanders. And she actually was on Donahue, and they had the Colonel on Donahue, and she was talking about what it was taking to uh, figure out the Colonel's recipe. And she says, well, he's from Kentucky, so I know that he likes these things for seasonings. And she kind of gave an insight to where she reached her conclusion. And then, of course, she made it better. And she said, Colonel, if you used my version, you'd be a general. Which is funny because Colonel Sanders, his colonel title is non-military. He's actually a spokesperson for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. He's supposed to tell you about the grandiose wonders that do exist in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, where we have racehorses and bourbon. Phil Donahue was from Dayton. The colonel used to come to Dayton to visit his kin, the people who started Lee's famous recipe. Really? So the colonel was related to... We'd have General Sanders chicken. And then the white suit that you see, the familiar white suit that you see Colonel Sanders in, is actually the suit that a Kentucky colonel would wear. I remember, well, I was at a friend of mine's place, and he throws a Kentucky Derby party every year, and he serves mint jalops and all sorts of stuff. It's great. It's actually a really nice time. And they were pre-gaming, and one of the people at the Kentucky Derby was interviewing a Kentucky colonel, and he was wearing that suit. So that is like standard dress. Jolly chicken? Jollibee? Jollibee chicken is damn good. Never had Jollibee chicken. I've had Lee's famous. I've had Church's. I've had Popeyes, the Colonel's. And out of those, I like Popeyes. Popeyes chicken's pretty good. Popeyes red beans and rice is just a taste of Louisiana right there. I love red beans and rice. I can make a meal out of that. They lived in my neighborhood. When I went to high school, Mrs. Omer was the colonel's niece. He told them to go for it when they started famous recipe. Lee's name came later. Okay. Popeyes is the Waffle House of the chicken joints. Jolie is in the Philippines. Oh, okay, so it's Filipino. I used to work with a Jamaican guy, and at the time I was working second shift at my last job before I went to nights. And he worked at a Jamaican guy worked at a Jamaican restaurant, and the name of the place was called Jamaican Dave's. And he would make himself probably part of his deal was he could make himself a meal, and he would always bring it home or bring it to work, and then he would actually trade me lunches. And he goes, "What do you have for lunch?" And I said, "I have this." And he goes, "I'll trade you." And I was getting Jamaican jerk chicken or red snapper fish. Red snapper fish is so good, y'all. And the Jamaican food is pretty good. I was really impressed. And he was just happy with whatever I had for lunch. He was just happy with. And I think it was because he was eating too much of the same stuff every day. In my area, haven't had the spaghetti. I've had a spicy chicken sandwich that was flavorful and actually had some jalapenos in it and the unreal. Red snapper kicks ass. I think they have it at Kroger's or K. Rogers. The orange roughy and swordfish. I have orange roughy and swordfish in my freezer. Ooh. Orange roughy. Ooh. Swordfish? Swordfish is good. Highly recommended. You've talked about it before, Danster. There are no K. Rogers in my area. There hasn't been since like the early 80s. Okay. Thanks, Mario. It's kind of funny. Up in our area, up in the area where I work, a lot of major name fast food joints have started idling stores, and there's a couple of Wendy's that have went under, and a couple of Burger Kings that went under. And the funny thing is they're all getting turned into taco places. I cannot believe how many taquerias are around my area now. Well, an old Subway is a taco joint. Yeah, old Subway is a taco joint, which is really interesting because that particular Subway used to be closer to the intersection, and they had this little itty bitty store for the longest time. And then they moved, bought a piece of property, built a brand new store, and then 15 years later, it's closed, and now it's a taqueria. Yeah, a Wendy's is a taqueria. Two Wendy's are taquerias. Subway is now a taqueria. Um, oh, I can't think of it. Yeah, but they're all turning into Mexican restaurants. I make swordfish a few times in my oven, and it is. Then this summer I cooked it on the grill. Out of this world grilled. Oh, I bet it is. Ooh, it's the ribeye of whitefish. Yeah, buddy. You go up to St. Ignace, which is the first town you go to when you cross over the Mackinac Bridge into the Upper Peninsula. And most of the restaurants up there, they have a whitefish special all year long on the menu because whitefish is bountiful harvest up there, and it's always good. All those whitefish special dinners are usually pretty good, and they always give you a lot of whitefish. Speaking of tacos, 2 Taco Bell stores in 2 towns outside of me caught on fire. One was gutted and the other one opened up 2 days after the fire. Wow. One was gutted and the other one reopened 2 days later. That's crazy. Well, that's what they get for playing with all that fire hot sauce. The Dean machine is with us. Good afternoon, Dean. See, Dean always comes in from the future. There were some hot tacos, for sure. Which got out of hand. I think I was like 20 and I was at a party and everyone there, it was a big party. There was a band that is really popular in this area and they're known for their legendary parties, and it's like once a year at the end of summer will be this big old knockdown drag out party, and there'll be like that band will headline, but there'll be like 15 other bands, and there'll be a car show and all sorts of stuff. It's usually a big deal. Well, this is back when I was like 20 or 19, and we're at this big party, and everyone is just foot to the floor drunk. And this woman tries to light her fart, and she caught her lady bits on fire. Doing it, and she's sitting there screaming, "Oh my God, and everyone's like, really?" It can create a ring of fire. Ace Deuce and the Jokers. Sorry, Ma, I didn't mean to run you off. Have a good weekend, Colleen. Okay, I'm gonna grab myself something to drink. Be right back. Mrs. Ecstasy gave me a white gold wedding ring 35 years ago on Facebook. And a buddy said, nah, the platinum needs rhodium added or the white goes yellow. Ah, I see. Oh, it's still white. Nice. Swimming pools and movie stars. Oh, black gold Texas tea. Yeah, you know, the Clampetts, they had supper at the fancy eating table. I loved it how they would pass around the Dutch oven with the pool rack, the thing that you use to line up shots. Huh. Jed was an Oldsmobile man. Yes, he was. He had like a 442 or something, an older car, but it had the Clampett mobile was an Oldsmobile. Yeah, the Clampett car was an Oldsmobile. So no wonder Jed would be an Oldsmobile man. Pot passers. Bad case of the clamps. Raiden, hello. Have some more of these clamps. Oh, yeah. I just love the fact that they're just filthy rich and they don't really wrap their brains around the fact that just how well off they are. Mama's out already, Dino, but I think it was Mr. Drysdale. Yeah. I try to be. I'm in a good mood. Have no reason not to be. Had a good day. Got things done. Got my carburetor cleaned, and actually that was cleaned and then put back together last evening, but I have to call the customer and tell them that it is ready for pickup. Unless you're in a big ripping hurry to get those puppies slammed on an engine, Ken, it wouldn't be a bad idea to at least work on the smoothing out your exhaust runners. I gotta try your pine saw method. It works out well. I tried to save the water when I dumped it out earlier, just to show how much schmoo came out. But I tried to pour off. I let it sit, and I carefully took it outside and tried to pour the top off. and then it started to mix up. But yeah, it works. That Pine Sol works great on the carbon. After a while of it soaking into that carbon, you can scrub it with a toothbrush and it comes right off. Worked out pretty good. Two methods. This weekend I did the long soak where basically I spent 24 hours of me just soaking it in Pine Sol, and I just dip it and turn it and dip it and turn it. Enough Pine Sol and enough water for the part to be submerged under it. But my favorite way is boiling it. Just don't do it in the house on the kitchen stove. Lady Dougster does. She used to be fine with it, and then when I did the valve body for the automatic transmission, and I think it was because I did it with no lid on the pot. It was worse. So yeah, Lady Dougster said no more boiling Pine Sol in the house. Boil them in camel oil. I think if Ari were to ever have a band, it should be RED and the Steel Camels. The camel oil is too precious to me. That's right. An 1817 one-barrel carb. Dead camel. These indie heads really need ported. The intake and exhaust runners are pretty smooth already, though. Your intake runner, you don't want smooth. You want the intake runner finished in 60 grit sandpaper roll, or what Andy Wood from Unity Motorsports Garage calls high performance 60 grit. So you want to do the entire intake runner plus the intake runner of the combustion chamber and the whole valve surround. You want to smooth it all out and then do it in a textured finish of 60 grit. It's the exhaust runner that you want to be smoother than a baby's bottom. The Danmits. The Danmits. I need some camel humper heads for the Apache. I ended up selling a set to my friend Jeff. Yeah, camel hump heads would be good. And a nice set of long tube headers. Those LS3 lifters, common internal leaking. I don't know. I'm a Mopar guy, not a GM guy. Maybe. Is that why so many LS engines like to tick like they do? I'm not really hip to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not very hip with my GM. So 225 intakes and 181 exhaust valves. He checked before you was wrecked. Z28 Camaros. I think my favorite Z28 Camaro is like the RSSS Z28s from the late 60s. They were pretty badass cars. And then there was a bunch of Z28s in my high school parking lot. That was a very popular car. Yeah, 69. Kind of good. So yeah, the Z28s were like 79s and early 80s. My one friend, Pat, he had a regular Camaro. No, it was a Camaro Berlinetta in red, in burgundy, but it had a Z28 interior in it, which it had the striped interior in it like a Z28 would have, which was weird because it was a very low option car, but it had the nicer interior. Got good beer and perfect hitch. Only kind of good. I could never get the never rip them fast heavy metal leads like I wanted to. Milwaukee's Beast Ice. Yeah, everyone calls that Milwaukee's Beast instead of Milwaukee's Best. Man, remember when every beer manufacturer had an ice beer? That was the 90s, a 90s thing. Ice, Bud Ice, Miller Ice, High Life Ice, this ice, that ice. Even with a radical cam, I'm still going to drive it around. I'll be able to pass everything but the gas station. And I'll have to carry octane booster with me too. Yes. Yeah, you will. God, you know, with as much compression that you're going to have, is down in Mississippi, is there a lot of E85 to be had? Maybe it'd be better to start running that on E85. I'm not a closet Toyota guy. I'm a Toyota guy. I like Toyota. Or run engine cooler. Yeah, run engine cooler. No E85. 2000 Echoes running strong. R07 R07 Camry is just going away. It's just running away. Oh, okay. I call it progress. Teflon Don, what's happening? Welcome. Marilyn Manson. I'm going to getting my Corolla out of mothballs here soon. I hope the moth didn't too much pain. Yeah, the iron moths are hungry buggers. I mean, that's basically what kills a Toyota. up here is either A, lack of maintenance, or B, rust. I mean, we're actually bright enough that Lady Dougster and I don't drive the Toyota once the snow flies because we've got four-wheel drives. We might as well drive that. And we want to keep the Toyota nice. It's such an it doesn't have any. It has rust, but not anywhere bad. So we want to keep her as good as possible. Hello, Dan. I've been doing some painting too. Dean is part French. Actually, oh, Dean has French rifles for sale. Only dropped once. Wah, wah, wah. Probably history with the cylinder heads leaking water in the piston in the chamber. Yep. Sea worm is killing me. Is killed 3. Oh, tin worm is killing. Yeah. 3 out of 4 Corollas I've owned. The 2000 Rolla checked out. Chucked a rod on the block at Interstate 71. Okay, you have my full attention. I've never seen a Yoda catastrophically fail. Usually it's usually up here. The highest mileage Toyota I seen was a 2000 Tacoma pickup in gold, and it was a cab and a half. It was a pre-runner, so it was the two-wheel drive pickup that sat like a 4x4, and it had a power locking rear diff. It had a switch on the dash that you could lock the diff with at a switch, and my friend's mom owned it, and she was one of the people that would drive behind the wide loads going down the highway with the yellow and black banner and the flashers. That's what she would do. And that Toyota had almost 500,000 miles on it. And then other than tires and brakes and oil changes, the only thing that she swapped out on that truck was an alternator. Impressive. And the body didn't look bad. The frame was beyond scary. And she took it to a shop and they patched her up the best they could. And it still ran and drove great, but the frame was just scary. And then it got bad again. And then we took it to a friend of ours' shop, and he actually refused to put the truck in the air. What he was doing is he'd put it on his hoist and he'd lift it high enough off of the ground to make the tires clear, and then he'd lay underneath of it on a creeper to work on it. He didn't trust it on his hoist. Engine bay is painted. We'll have to record the unmasking. Please do. Rod then bounced up and punctured the fuel tank or the line. Holy wow. Probably tomorrow. Looking forward to that. The aluminum block for the 1988 First Sons for the FE engine. few trucks in the junkyard that look good, but their frames have buckled. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Is no one, people wash the bodies. Nobody ever gets underneath them and washes the, does an underbody flush. They had a hollow crank. There was a General Motors front wheel drive car that had a hollow camshaft. That was supposed to be revolutionary, and it wasn't. The cams would break in the middle, and then the engine wouldn't run right. I'm not here to show bad Toyota publicity. I don't have anything bad other than the uh, other than the body's rusting away here in the Rust Belt. I mean, they're always the same. They run great. They're just death traps to drive. They're so blessed rusty. I have a hollow crank and not even a hint of billet. Blue Wrench Brigade. Lady Dougster's headed out to work. The Dougster's getting let out for potty time. What time is it? Potty time. (2C) and 35 FE engines. I'm not good on my designations. I can't even hardly remember the designation for the that Mercedes 5-cylinder that I love so much. It's like a OM 528 or something like that. Mr. DeVille needs a GM manners lesson. Ooh. DeVille is the town. And there's a French last name, Mandeville, and it's literally man of the town. So Coupe de Ville is Coupe of the town. Actually, Coupe de Villes were always around, but one of the very more rare on the Lincoln side of things were the Lincoln Town Coupes. You always seen town cars, but very rarely did you ever see town coupes. And town coupes are cool. Tall blocks are normally okay. Yeah. Over the years, a friend of mine does a lot of motorcycle stuff, and he'll get the occasional Honda that won't start, won't run, or runs poorly. And then he finally goes in and to start seeing what the problem is. And with the little Hondas, a lot of times, lack of oil is the culprit. Running it low on oil. Okay. I'll talk to Lady Dougster for just a minute. All right, I'm back. Yeah, EcoCheck engines as the 1.0 1 liter engine. Wow, 1,000 cc's, LDB, and the 1.2 LWD. Interesting. Bye, babe. Bye. There isn't any cold.
Why?
I forgot. I took the last one. I didn't think you were gonna come get one. Sorry, babe. She was looking for a cold pop in my fridge in the barn, and I took the last one. I forgot to put more. I was gonna load up the fridge before I went in for the night. Whoops. My buddy wasn't paying attention and started missing a curve in his girlfriend's 73 Coupe de Ville. I pointed it out and he overcorrected and perfectly drifted the caddy around the curve. As late and we've been drinking, just guess who was coming towards us. Yeah, sounds like Johnny Law. You guessed it, sheriff's deputy. Oh, good times, good times. SP and SP plus oils are crap. Losing a lot of oil every 1,000 miles. Wow. That is terrible amount of oil consumption every 1,000 miles. Didn't even get a ticket. Yeah. Now, you know, there are times when, isn't it strange? You'll have one cop that'll nail your butt to the wall for the slightest thing, and then other times you could have done 10 things wrong, and you just get a warning for driving too fast. And have a good evening, and just. He later on died in a motorcycle. Corroborating a prediction I'd made. Ew. A friend of mine years ago, he got pulled over, and the cop comes up and he's dead to rights. And was caught him speeding. He's on the side of the highway. The cop walks towards him and is, reason I pulled you over, speeding, license and registration. I clocked you at this and this. And in the state of Michigan now, you got to move over. If the cop has somebody pulled over on the side of the road, you're supposed to, on the highway, go over. Give the cop the emergency vehicle as much room as possible, preferably a lane over. Well, this is long before that rule came into play. My friend just handed over his stuff. The cop takes it and he goes, "I'll be right back with this." And he stopped to turn to go forward or back to his cruiser. A guy on the motorcycle, it looked like, from my friend's perspective, it looked like the motorcyclist almost brushed the cop, and he was hauling butt when they passed. And the guy, boom, almost clips him on the bike, rolling down the highway, and the cop wheels around, throws all of my friend's stuff in the window of his car. He says, "Today's your lucky day. You're free to go." And he jumped in that cruiser and was gone. I don't think he caught the bike, but how cool is that? You're like, "Oh man, today's gonna suck. Yep, I'm definitely getting a ticket." Nope, thank you, motorcyclist. Been learning lacrosse. Cool. Yeah, we had a local guy that was known by a lot of the younger guys that I hang with. He got hit on the expressway like a year ago. He had just started. He was a younger guy, just had started a family, and he actually had his young daughter in his tow truck with him, and they were going up the expressway, and a dog had um, was loose on the expressway, and he pulled over, turned on his flashers, and got the dog, and a lady lost control of her car because she was not paying attention and ended up hitting and unaliving the young man. And so now you'll see on every tow truck around here. And when he passed away, his funeral was amazing. Like, there was tow companies from mid-state Indiana that drove up, and tow companies from Illinois, and tow companies from Wisconsin, and tow companies from the Upper Peninsula. Like, people who heard about this, they all come down, and they all like tow trucks. Instead of, it was all tow trucks that took him home to his final resting place. Pretty cool. So yeah, you see all the tow trucks around here, and they all have "slow down, get over, it's the law," something of that nature on the back of the tow truck. So unfortunate, yes. We go for long rides together, Dan. I ain't rode a horse in 45 years. I haven't rode a horse in 20 years. Lady Dougster used to have a horse. Horses, plural. We had a horse named Ernie, and we had a horse named Vic, and we had a horse named Sugar. Sugar was beautiful. She was she was all brown. She had a white face, looked like white paint was slopped on the top of her head, and she had big, beautiful blue eyes. She was a gorgeous horse. And the whole time that Dan's rode a horse once, it was about 28 years ago, I think. And the whole time that old Danster is riding the horse, he's singing the song. She's got the, or I've got the horse and she's got the saddle. We like to ride side by side. The only horses I get to operate are rubber burning gas guzzlers. That's right. We used to go to the horseman's campground on the weekends and play with our horses, and some friends of ours would come with this horse named Flash, and I would ride Flash a lot. And Flash was a white Appaloosa, and Flash had a whole bunch of black and brown freckles all over his coat. He was a gorgeous horse, but you take out old Flash. I always called him Not So Flash, because you'd open him up and he'd just kind of work at, this is what you get. All right, this is opened up. This is what you get. Deal with it. And you know he could go faster, but that's what he wanted. So those other friends that came, they had this one little horse, and he was gray like a mule, and I forget what he was. He was a mix of everything, and his name was Tiki the horse. And Tiki was fast as a bullet. The lady that owned him, she just leaned forward in the saddle and slack them reins, and he'd just take off like a streak of snot. It was not uncommon for us to be going out on the trails at the horseman's campground, and then here'd come this person on Tiki just bolting through Tiki was fast. So one particular day, I got Flash opened up and out riding down the lane, and here comes this lady on Tiki, all laid down in the saddle and the slack them reins and just a bullet. So I looked over my shoulder and I've already seen her. She's weaving through traffic and here she comes, right? Didn't think anything of it. And she comes up and cruises right up close next to Flash. And Flash gets a look of Tiki out of the corner of his eye, and he got competitive all of a sudden. And he actually had like a third more for just a little bit. He actually picked up the pace because he wasn't going to get shut down, but Tiki left him in the dirt anyway. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And the whole time I'm like, you sandbagging son of a buck. This whole time you've been sandbagging me. I was cussing him out for the rest of the ride. Yeah, not so Flash actually did have some flash in him. But that was the only time I'd seen that. That was pretty cool. Extra gross horsepower, yeah. Only operated an equestrian horse at full gallop for a very short time. Yeah. There used to be, up in a major city around here, there was a guy that would bring his horses and a really fancy wagon downtown, and then on nice summer nights in the summer, he'd charge for horse rides, and he'd take you for a little route through the city. And he'd actually make some pretty good money doing that, and everyone loves the horses. And this one guy is being an absolute jerk in a car behind this wagon, blowing his horn and yelling at them. And the guy goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, 1 second." And he said, "Here, cover up with this." And he's like, "Pardon me for what I'm about to do." And he yelled something at the horses. And on the wagon and on the tongue, there is a bucket or a tray to catch the horsey exhaust, if you know what I mean. And he said something, and one of the horses kicked that tray, and it went up and over the wagon, and most of its contents landed on the car and behind him. True story. Actually, you'll see more than 1 horsepower, Buff. A horse is able to produce up to 5 or 6 horsepower. The actual term of horsepower comes from, I want to say it's 660 pounds. You have 660 pounds on a pallet, okay? And you have you have a rope on each corner coming together and 1 rope pulling up on the whole thing. So picture that load of 660 pounds on the pallet is at the base of a cliff. At the top of the cliff, here's that pulley with the rope going down to the load. The horse is hooked up to that rope, and if he is able to pull it forward and raise that load to so many feet and hold it there, that horse is exerting 1 horsepower. So a horse is capable of producing more than a horsepower. And it's pure, unadulterated horsepower. And there's a large Dutch population in this area, Holland, Michigan being one of them. And there's a place where you can go that's kind of old world, tourist trappy, but it emphasizes Dutch culture, and they show devices in their museum that are horse powered, and essentially it's a treadmill for a horse to do work. So how much torque does a horse make? I don't know. I just want to see that dyno contraption. Yeah, it's a friend of mine's father had a whole bunch of books that were passed down from the family farm, and they explained a lot of things like that. You know, what's in a horsepower, and measurements, what's in a gill and what's in a this. And it was a very informative book, but it actually showed the sketched out thing of the horse, the pulley, the cliff, the load of the horse exerting 1 horsepower. But not endlessly. That's right. That's burst strength by my understanding. Up here, there's a lot of people that are loggers. Up here in Michigan, we get a lot of trees, and most of the major logging companies, you have a choice. If you hire them to log off your property, you can have the logs hauled off by equipment like skidders and tractor trailers or whatnot, or you can actually have them skidded off of your property by a team of draft horses. And they've got guys who's got big Perchins and draft horses and Clydesdales, the big heavy horses. And then you can skid them logs out, and you'll see those guys standing right on top of the logs, skidding them out with that team. And usually, if it's a pretty grandiose hill, he'll stop and let the team rest a second and catch their breath, and then up and off they go. And that's actually pretty cool to watch. At the county fair, I've always loved to watch the heavy horse pulling the sled and the weight, and that's always pretty cool. And just seeing them big old gentle giants, and usually those big horses are just so docile and laid back. But yeah, just to see them big gentle giants just doing their thing, it's really cool. Cubits. Yeah. What's in a cubit? Horses are revolutionary. Because of the size James Watt used. You set the load so the. Well, yeah, because you've got watts, which is another measurement of power, of course. Skidder with a wrench that can handle 5/8 cable. Not toting logs, just dragging them on the ground. They'll have a designated run where they'll take the logs and they'll just skid them out. It's not. Hey, what's happening, Average Tinker? Imagine if James Watt got to ride in a Boss 429. Yeah, that makes a few watts of power. Wendy is here. Welcome, Mrs. One-Eyed Cat. Scrolling shorts, and here you are. Nice. Oh, it's Juan. Hello, Juan. Good to see you, my friend. Lodge number 77 and 1753. Don't mess with the measurements. That's why. uh, yeah, that's one thing that even I don't understand is the watt. Because I was watching this whole thing about they were trying to get a pedal bike to break some record, and he ended up having some. The bike ended up being a recumbent bike, but it had like this capsule that he sat inside, so it would make it more aerodynamic. Because going faster than 60 miles an hour on a bicycle in regular riding position is pretty hard because of wind resistance. Nice. See, everyone remembers everyone. One of the coolest things I've seen in a long time is there's actually a lady who has the pedal power record, and she did like, I want to say it's like 185 miles an hour on a pedal bike. And what they ended up doing is they actually take it looks like a dragster, except it has this weird looking shed looking thing on the rear of it. And what that does is that breaks the wind. And then the lady is inside this shed on a specially made, it's motorcycle parts essentially. And it's this big long bike frame, and it's geared so high that she can't maintain the pedal speed if she's under, like, she can barely ride it naturally aspirated herself. It's geared so tall. But so she'll actually, her and the driver of the drag, it looks like a rail dragster, she's hitched onto the cage of this thing, and they're going down the Bonneville Salt Flats. And then after a green light turns on telling her that the bicycle rider, that she's reached the speed, then she untethers from the dragster and then fades back just a little bit, staying inside that windbreak. And then she is pedaling to keep things going. And then the driver of the dragster has to feather the throttle to make sure that that perfect zone is maintained. And that is how they ended up doing it. So if it weren't for the dragster breaking the wind for her, there's no way that she could pedal power herself to those speeds. But it was just amazing. And they said that how many feet worth of run out the chain was, and it was like 26 feet of run out or something like that. It was just nuts. That's drag load versus peak horsepower. Hertz invented cycles. I don't need a dragster to break wind. I can. Yeah. We got some cards here. I love it. Well, I hope that everyone is having a great Labor Day. Now, for Dean, he's having a great tomorrow because it's the future. 1974 LP 400 Lamborghini Countach has had 375 horsepower. DIN net, just enough to match an American engineered D2 Masa Pantera. D2 Panteras are cool cars, and I knew nothing about the D2 Panteras. I've seen them, but I've never been like around them or seen what made them tick. So everything that I had known about D. Tomasa Panteras was told to me by other people, and now that I'm older and I'm wiser and I know quite the opposite, one guy told me that D. Tomasa Panteras had radiators underneath the engine, and I now know that that is not true. It's in the front of the car. Only because I seen video where one guy was, or D-Boss Garage, was working on a red D. Tomasa Pantera and showing where the radiator was and stuff. And I'm like, ah. But, you know, when you don't know, I've never been around one. Ace Deuce and the Jokers, a late 70s, early 80s, 1950s cover band that played in Englewood, Ohio. Oh, wow. Vince Neil was a dipshit behind the wheel of his Pantera. I'm not the least bit surprised. I'm impressed that he lived to see old age, to be honest with you. As much drugs and drinking and fast cars like he did, and the women. Yeah, I'm surprised he's with us today. I'm just a high school dropout with a bunch of tools, junkyard knowledge, and a one-car garage. I like it. You know, some of the most intelligent men I ever knew didn't go to school past the 6th grade. My friend Cliff, who I've talked about quite extensively on these live streams, he only went to the 6th grade, and he could do anything. If it was Dr. G, what is happening? He'd do something just absolutely astounding, another mechanical feat, and he'd wink at you and say, not bad for somebody who only went to school to the 6th grade, huh? Vince Neil unalived the guy from Hanoi Rocks in his Pantera. I remember that. My grandpa was a 6th grader, built 2 houses with his own hands. Exactly. You know, just because you're not book smart does not mean that you're not smart. I've learned every person brings something to the table. Everyone has a different wheelhouse. So, like, I met someone who I didn't think was all that smart until I seen that person in their wheelhouse, and then they just off they go. I was like, never mind, I stand corrected. So everyone brings something to the table. I was in 6th grade in 1978, and I could have stood on a milk crate and fixed cars of the day. Yeah. You know, a good mechanic sells himself, essentially. It's funny that even the best of mechanics, a friend of mine ran his own repair shop. He was a GM mechanic for over 30 years before he went out and started his own shop. And I knew this guy's work, and I was friends with him for years. I was friends with his stepson, and him and I just became friends also over the years. And just knowing what kind of a mechanic he was and how good he was at his job, and it was so funny when you'd hear someone saying, "Oh, I took my car to this garage," and I'm like, "Oh, that's my friend's garage," voice in my head, and And oh, they were terrible, and they did this, and they did that, and they didn't do this, and they didn't do that, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, there ain't no way. I mean, every mechanic has a bad day for sure, but they painted a picture like they just didn't care and were slapping stuff together. And I'm like, I know better. I know that guy way too well. To what you're saying doesn't hold water, friend. Okay. My dad did side jobs. My job was gopher, so he didn't have to climb out from under the car. So he could go, yeah, hell yeah. I'll still gopher for people. I have no problem helping. I have my grandma's 1923 diploma. She made it to the 8th grade. Grandpa made it to the 6th grade and started in the steel mill at 15, as he had no dad and needed to help his mom. Yep, yep, yep. Danster, me too. I wish I had kids too. In 6th grade, I could have worked down at the Sohio and probably done pretty good. At 6th grade, was an absolute ADD mess, and I was not going to be holding my own in any industry at that time. Yeah, I'll face the music. I wouldn't be, yeah, I wouldn't be holding down no job. But I knew even then in 6th grade that I wanted to do something mechanical. When I was in like 3rd grade, they asked all of us what we wanted to be when we grew up. Or maybe it was 2nd grade. I think it was 3rd grade. And everyone wanted to be firemen and policemen and lawyers and judges and an insurance agent like their dad and so on and so forth. And I said I said a grease monkey, but a mechanic. I said I wanted to be a mechanic. And I remember everyone snickering and laughing at me. And I remember 2 people that day telling me, nobody wants to be a mechanic. And well, look who you're bringing your car to today to fix it, bud. Nobody wants to be a mechanic, eh? All right, maybe that's why mechanics get paid so well. We all bring our own uniqueness to the table. Dr. G, you said a mouthful. That's why they're nobodies. That's right. If you're in Michigan, apparently the aura is visible, FYI. In 6th grade, I was just starting to wrench. It was on bicycles, but I prepared me for cars. Yep, me too. I wrenched on my bike for sure. I wanted to be an over the road truck driver in 6th grade. It really is a torturous way to make your money. My dad would tell me, like, oh, take care, Buff. Yep, see you tomorrow on your live. Um, Lost my train of thought. Oh, my dad would tell me, son, you can be anything that you want to be. He's like, don't be an over the road truck driver. Don't be a truck driver. Because that's what dad did for a living. And he goes, it sucks. He says, he really wanted me to be an electrician. And I really wish that I had listened to dad about that one, because I noticed that a lot of my friends who are electricians make a very comfortable living doing it. think I'm glad that I've kept my mechanicking recreational, although I do get a kick out of fixing my landlord's coin op washers and dryers. Yeah. I do not work hot. Not knowingly, yeah. Hey, Destroyer. Hey, Eric. Good to see you. Yeah, I have after working for a while as a mechanic at the diesel or at the asphalt company, I like keeping my wrenching recreational to where, because I know that there's no way if I was wrenching every day for a job and then trying to come home and build stuff that I'd have no desire to do that. So I've always kept this is so basically when you see me doing projects and stuff, this is actually recreation for me. I know, some recreation, right? I pay for a mechanic. It's my brother. I don't fix it. My brother will. Nice. Hey, a good mechanic is always in demand. I have a radiator job first thing in the morning on a 70s Clark forklift. It should be fun. Yeah, 70s Clark forklift. That's very possibly a Continental engine that's in there. And either it's made in Detroit or it's made in Muskegon. Continental engine, Detroit or Muskegon. When I fixed up my house, rewiring was one of my favorite steps. Knob and tube gone. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The old wiring. Oh man, I hope it's not too bad. Who had buried? I've never worked on or opened up a forklift. They're pretty tight in there. I do it for fun as well. I did it for a job for 1 month. Said, nah, I don't want to lose the fun of it. Exactly. Destroyer's totally picking up what I'm throwing down. Got to tilt the overhead guard. It shouldn't be too bad. I mean, they're not packed in there terrible tight, but they're not exactly roomy inside. We had I worked at a steel shop as a truck loader over the winter, and we had this old Clark high-low that had a high-low range in it, and the high-low it had a bazillion hours on it. It was propane, and it was old and worn out. And one day you could put it in, high range, low range. Well, one day I took off in low range, and I wondered, so I wound it up in low range. I took my foot off the throttle and I crammed that thing into high range. So I was 2-speed power shifting that thing throughout the shop. I was young and fearless. This was winter of 2000. So yeah, I was younger and a lot dumber. And I never got shocked. I didn't connect my new circuits. I had real electricians do that when they put in the new breaker box. That's right. It's in a chemical plant, 28,000 hours. It's been there. It's so rusted. I'm actually scared. 28, okay. So if it's got 28,000 hours on it, to put it in actual mileage, car mileage, 28,000 hours would be almost 300,000 miles. So figure 280,000 miles on that forklift. 10,000 hours is 100,000 car miles. So that thing has seen some stuff, my man. It's probably, I would assume it's running on propane. not diesel. Times 30 miles per 1 hour. Okay, okay. Tinkerer, is that what you do for a living? Are you a high-low mechanic, or are you just, or is that's just the job of the day, is got to fix the high-low? Twisted Mopar Garage, Dennis, what's happening? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Gonna take care of my empty, be right back. Oh, you're a forklift tech. Nice. Hey, road guy, I'm doing all right. Removed it and set on a stone wall to paint, and got it stuck in the paint. I'd love some help, but we're required to work alone. That's interesting. Now, some of the high-low service places that I have encountered over the years, driving high-lows, usually the techs are running alone, but usually they'll pick up the phone and be calling Jay, who is nearby. Can you come over and help me? And then you'll see Jay come over for just long enough to help the guy do whatever he needs to do, and then Jay's out. But yeah, most of the time I've seen the techs work alone. A friend of mine works for a specific brand of high-low technician. Sometimes weekend, but we're short-handed. Yes, I know. It seems like everyone's short-handed. A friend of mine is a high-low technician. He gets called to this place in a town south of us, or south of me, and he gets called in, and no lift. Okay, so he gets in there, and the high-lows that he deals in are red, and that's their primary color. And it ends up being that he's looking all through this facility, and he can't find that brand of high-low. And he's like, I'm looking for this unit number. And they're like, oh, it's the white high-low in the back. And he goes, oh, I walked right past that. And it was this old dinosaur. Well, what the old dinosaur ended up being was he worked for Raymond high-low, servicing Raymond's, and this was an old Raymond high-low, but it was an old diesel Raymond high-low. And sure enough, none of the controls would work, wouldn't go up or down or anything. And he's absolutely lost on this thing. This is that old of a machine. He's never seen one. It doesn't know how to fix it. So he calls the parts guy at the shop and talks to him. And of course, the parts guy has never dealt with that unit either. And he goes, here, we've got on file some of the old guys that retired. And the one guy, they got a hold of him and then gave him his number and had him call my friend. And he goes, we'll say Bill. This is Bill. And he goes, Bill, I'm here at this job and I'm working on this old diesel Raymond. He goes, what color is it? He goes, is it white? And he goes, yes, it's white. And he goes, is it a model blah, blah, blah? Look here for the thing. Yes. He goes, okay. There's O-rings inside the valve. The O-rings are no good. Tear it apart here, replace the O-rings, everything should work again, which he did. He goes, be sure to give the customer a handful of O-rings and show them how to fix that problem so you don't have to come back and do that again. That was the old guy. He goes, very common problem on that model. You know exactly what company I'm talking about. Yep. Probably tell me what street their office is on. Hmm. Service was, that is. Not that truck, but I feel like I know who you're talking about also. No? That's crazy. Yeah. Um, we have a lot of oh, you're a former employee of that? Oh, okay. That's crazy. No, I'm not surprised. Stay in the biz. We just went, my shop runs a bunch of Toyotas. We used to have, well, we still have a whole fleet of old Crowns. And of the, oh, of the Raymonds and the Yodas. Oh, okay. Well, we just got the Yodas into our plant, and they've been servicing all our stuff. And the Crown's such a big pain in the butt. They treat everything as if it's military grade secrets. They don't throw nobody no bones. They'll be more than happy to send a technician out to see what the problem is. But yeah, if another high-low repair shop is trying to find information, mum's the word, which that never makes sense. For the Raymonds and the Yodas. Yodas are pretty okay high-lows. I'm at my third shop. Some of the Yoda guys are awesome. Crown dudes can be secretive, yes. Well, yeah, when you've been in the business probably as long as you have, average tinkerer, you make some friendships, and those friendships pay big dividends, especially when your friends, they're familiar with this stuff, and you can call them up and go, Terry, I'm lost, guide me. Oh, you're here, you're there, you're everywhere, do this, this, and this. Yeah. Yeah, Toyota doesn't make junk. Toyota doesn't make junk. I worked in auto parts uh, for a long time, and we would make auto parts for everyone. And we started to get a shifter plate job, an inlay shifter plate job for like the fancy looking wood grain plate that went on top of your console for your console shifter. And we would make parts for Toyota. We'd send them 5,000 parts, and we'd get 2,000 back. And they were just so picky, and we'd rework those 2,000 parts and send them back, and we'd get 750 back. It was just insane. It actually got to the point where I think Toyota pulled the job from us because we were underperforming. Oh, the 4Y motor makes them. My buddy has a saying, we're all here to get the customer running. Yeah. With the little hole for the lockout feet. Sounds like the Davco fuel systems with the reworks. Yeah, it was. We just had such a problem with Toyota being so blessed picky, just picky, 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 and rightfully so. But we couldn't keep them happy. Yeah, the company is well run. I think that Toyota was a totally different game for us. We were used to working with Chrysler, Generous Motors, we did a lot of Chrysler and Generous Motors work, and we were able to keep those happy. But yeah, we walked over into the Toyota side of things, and nope, we couldn't keep them happy. This Kaiser Funk. Oh, Davco builds the Volvo fuel filter pumps on the semi trucks. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. I see. Jim couldn't quite afford to be picky at that point. We were actually on like quadruple secret probation with General Motors. We kept having problems with our consoles because we were a tier one supplier. So that means the company's defunct. That's why I can talk about this stuff. But it ended up being that we kept having problems with our consoles to the point where basically we'd make them and they'd go right out of the box and get put on the car, tier one. And we ended up, we were on, first we had to be on 100%, meaning that it gets built on our line and then it gets taken to a separate person that's one of our employees, and they go through and they inspect everything and then weed out problems before it goes on to General Motors. Well, we did that, and then they were still getting dinged for things not being right. So we're failing building it on the line, and now one of our own employees in a separate area is letting stuff go. So then they go to what's called 200%. And this is where we're really in trouble, because we make it on the line, it goes and is once again inspected by our own employee, and then the company actually has to pay a separate company to supply employees that come in and have their own area, and then they 100% check things also. And then if we're good for so long, then we can go back down to running at the line. But I remember us twice going to the third level where we go to 200% just to keep General Motors happy. It was bad. Quality control. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Out in Saline, I used to make the check valves, dropped out of high school to run the parts on Mayo. So that Davco tried getting us like that. It turned out they had multiple suppliers of those check valves, and it wasn't our parts that had failed. Nice. Isn't it good when it really isn't your fault, but everyone else thinks it is? It does feel like a Sunday Coperino. It does. And welcome, John Cope. John Cope in the house, everybody. John Cope. It's a good thing for GM. It was a mess. Yeah. We had made consoles for Dodge Neons, and we also made the really big dash pads that went on Neons too. And we had when the console is shot in our mold and it's set in the operator's area, you're supposed to take your nippers and cut the runner out that actually flows, the plastic flows to fill the cavity with plastic. Well, you're supposed to cut that out. Somebody had left the runner inside the hanging by just a thread of plastic on the inside. They cut it in 2 points and almost on the third point and forgot to take the runner out of it. And then we assembled the console and shipped it to Chrysler, where they built the neon, and Mr. Chrysler exec just on a whim picks a random car off of the production line to go drive, and it ends up choosing the one that had the bad console in it and drives it around on complex, and it's making these rattling sounds. And they found out that it was the piece of plastic runner inside the console rattling around between the little cubby and the console. And oh my goodness, were they mad at us. And they ended up making this real elaborate whatchamadoodle, to where the mold would open up, an arm would reach in the machine and take out the console, and then bring it up, turn down, and actually set it down at the operator. That wasn't any different. But now there was this stand, this whatchamadoodle between the plastic injection machine and the operator. The mold would open, the claw would grab actually it was suction cups, would grab the console, come up, and it would set it on top of this jig, and it would automatically cut the runner out of that. And then it was picked up from there, brought over, and then given to the operator to ensure that that never happened again. It's like, wow, you guys really swung for the fences on this one. No, I didn't work at Undercar. I worked at a place called Meridian Automotive Systems, which is now defunct. We made fog lights for cars. We made turn signals for cars, rear tail lights for cars. We had the whole rear lighting program for the Dodge Vipers. We made reverse lights, tail lights, even the light up little Viper light. We made those. We had the entire lighting program for Chrysler 300, the Plymouth Prowler. Yes, Plymouth Prowler. We made all lighting for the Plymouth Prowler, and a lot of that stuff was paint to match. And that was actually pretty cool. Probably the most high-tech stuff I remember us doing there in-house. Undercar is a supplier of the same parts as a Blackmer. Oh, Blackmer pump? You're talking about Blackmer pump? Yeah. Marshall makes some fog lights. I think Marshall makes horns too, Dan. Yeah. Blackmer Pump has supplied pump parts for gas pumps for like millennia. Yeah, the Plymouth Prowler tail headlights came casted in clear plastic, and then everything was set into their own masks, and then just a little bit of the headlight got painted body color. And we painted all colors for the Plymouth Prowler: purple, silver, red, yellow, black, and I think blue. They were all cool looking colors. And then the tail light, the high mount tail light over no, we never did copper. So that was the only reason. All the Plymouth Prowlers I ever seen were always purple. Like on TV shows and stuff, it was always the purple car. Anything I'd ever seen in real life was purple. And I knew that there was other colors because we did the purple, we did black, we did silver, we did yellow. I like the silver. I have never seen one in silver. But not plum crazy. It was purple, but not plum crazy. Correct. Yep, purple, but not plum crazy purple. Holy wah, it's almost 11 o'clock. As much fun as I'm having, I gotta pull the plug on this. I gotta be responsible, you know, go to work and all that other stuff. So, it was really great hanging out with everyone. Come back next week. We'll do it all over again. Let's be like the Beach Boys and let's get together and do it again. So, come check me out. Same Dougster time, same Dougster channel. Bye, everybody.